This book of poetry is called The Sheriff of Rottenshot. The poems are written by Jack Prelutsky, and the pictures are done by Victoria Chess. The Sheriff of Rottenshot. The Sheriff of Rottenshot, Jog-along Jim, wore a 1-gallon hat with a 10-gallon brim. He was short in the saddle and slow on the draw, but he was the sheriff. His word was the law. Jog-along Jim didn't know how to fight. His boots were too big, and his breeches too tight. He wasn't too bright and he wasn't too brave. He needed a haircut, a bath, and a shave. His rifle was rusty and couldn't shoot straight. His bony old pony groaned under his weight. The Sheriff of Rottenshot, Jog-along Jim, was lucky that nobody lived there but him. Filbert Fleming. The major quirk of Filbert Fleming was tinkering all day, inventing things that didn't work, a scale that wouldn't weigh, a pointless pen that couldn't write, a score of silent whistles, a bulbless lamp that wouldn't light, a toothbrush with no bristles. He built a chair without a seat, a door that wouldn't shut, a cooking stove that didn't heat, a knife that couldn't cut. He proudly crafted in his shop a wheel that wouldn't spin, a sweepless broom, a mopless mop, a stringless violin. He made a million useless things, like clocks with missing hands, like toothless combs and springless springs, and stretchless rubber bands. When Fleming was through with something new, he'd grin and say with glee, "I know this does not work for you, but it works for me." Kermit Keane. Kermit Keane, unkempt though clean, devised a devilish machine. "My gadget," he declared with pride, "transforms whatever's placed inside." He dropped a squirrel in the spout. A pigeon popped directly out. He plopped the pigeon right back in. Out squirmed a snake with shining skin. The snake was traded for a cat, a Pekingese, a pig, a rat, and shortly in the rodent's place, a rabbit occupied the space. But when he put the rabbit back, he gasped and screamed, "Oh no, alack!" For something monstrous, moist, and mean emerged and swallowed Kermit Keane. The Centipede. The centipede with many feet is bicycling about the street. She pedals at surprising speed upon her old velocipede. The centipede with care has put a pedal under every foot. She rates awards, she merits medals, working all those centipedals. The Soggy Frog. The toad's abode is by the road. The frog's abode is boggy, explaining why the toad seems dry and why the frog seems soggy. The court jester's last report to the king. "Oh, sire, my sire, your castle's on fire. I fear it's about to explode. A hideous lizard has eaten the wizard. The prince has turned into a toad. Oh, sire, good sire, there's woe in the shire. Fierce trolls are arriving in force. There are pirates in port, monstrous ogres at court, and a dragon has melted your horse. Oh, sire, great sire, the tidings are dire. A giant has trampled the school. Your army has fled. There are bees in your bed, and your nose has come off. April Fool." The Spaghetti Nut. Eddie, the spaghetti nut, courted pretty Nettie Cut. They wed, and Ed and Nettie got a cottage in Connecticut. Eddie said to Nettie, "Hot spaghetti I've just got to get." So Nettie put it in a pot and cooked spaghetti hot and wet. Nettie cut spaghetti up for Eddie in Connecticut. Eddie slurped it from a cup, that hot spaghetti Neddy cut. Then Eddie, Neddy, and their cat, that Neddy called Spaghetti Pet, all sat in the spaghetti vat. So much for their spaghetti etiquette. The catfish. The catfish, far more fish than cat, prefers a fishy habitat. It swims about beneath a stream and does not care for milk or cream. The catfish can't meow or purr, and features neither claws nor fur. It only has one simple wish, and that's to catch a rare mouthfish. An anteater. An anteater can't eat a thing but an ant, though an anteater would if he could. It should be understood that an anteater would, but an anti-eating anteater can't. He might sample a plant, but an anteater can't. No, an anteater never succeeds, and berries and seeds are unfit for his needs, for he can't eat a thing but an ant. An anteater can't eat a thing but an ant, though an anteater would if he could. It should be understood that an anteater would, but an ant-eating anteater can't. Twickum Tweezer. Shed a tear for Twickum Tweezer, who ate uncommon meals, who often peeled bananas and then only ate the peels, who emptied jars of marmalade and only ate the jars, and only ate the wrappers from his chocolate candy bars. Though he sometimes cooked a chicken, Twickum only ate the bones. He discarded scoops of ice cream, though he always ate the cones. He'd boil a small potato, but he'd only eat the skin, and pass up canned asparagus to gobble down the tin. He daily dined on apple cores and bags of peanut shells, on cottage cheese containers, cellophane from caramels. Poor Twickum Tweezer passed on last year, that odd and novel man, when he fried an egg one morning and then ate the frying pan. A certain lady kangaroo. A certain lady kangaroo was once an awful grouch. She pestered everyone she knew and fussed about her pouch. "My pouch," she sighed. "My pouch," she cried. "My pouch," she used to pout. "The things I've tried to keep inside persist in falling out. My makeup kit, my grooming needs, my toothbrush and my nail brush, my credit cards and worry beads, my tissues and my tail brush." That certain lady kangaroo tried sealing it with snaps, with tape and twine, with gobs of glue, with staple strings and straps, with paper clips and wire strands, with putty pins and paste, with rivets, ropes, and rubber bands, but all were just a waste. Today that lady kangaroo is charming, calm, and chipper, for she went to a tailor who equipped her with a zipper. Sadie Snatt. I'm Sadie Snatt. I'm big and fat. I eat the finest food, like turtle tails and salmon scales and termites spiced and stewed, like chicken cheeks and buzzard beaks and pickled pigeon pies, like French fried fleas and bees with cheese, tomato rat surprise. I sup on slugs and soft-boiled bugs and tasty toads on toast, on donkey tongues and monkey lungs and caterpillar roast, on snake soufflés with mayonnaise and millipedes and mustard, on squirrel livers sliced in slivers, frozen fish-eye custard. I gobble bowls of scrambled moles and crocodile croquettes, of rotten eggs and lizard legs and earthworm omelettes. I'm Sadie Snatt. I'm big and fat. I feast on frog fondue, and if you're nice and ask me twice, I'll share my meal with you. Saucy little ocelot. Saucy little ocelot, ocelot, ocelot. You like to turn and toss a lot, ocelot. You often fret and fuss a lot, ocelot. Speckled, spotted, polka-dotted, saucy little ocelot. Saucy little ocelot, ocelot, ocelot. You're often mean and cross-a-lot, ocelot. You want to be the boss-a-lot, ocelot. Bossy, brassy, cross and sassy, saucy little ocelot. The ghostly grocer of Grumble Grove. In Grumble Grove, near Howling Hop, there stands a non-existent shop, within which sits, beside his stove, the ghostly grocer of Grumble Grove. There, on rows of spectral shelves, chickens serenade themselves, sauces sing to salted butter, onions weep and melons mutter, cornflakes flutter, float on air, with loaves of bread that are not there. Thin spaghettis softly scream, and curdle quarts of quiet cream. Phantom figs and lettuce specters dance with cans of fragrant nectars. Sardines saunter down their aisle, tomatoes march in single file. A cauliflower poltergeist juggles apples thinly sliced. A sausage skips on ghostly legs as raisins romp with hard-boiled eggs. As pea pods play with prickly pears, the ghostly grocer sits and stares and watches all within his trove, that ghostly grocer of Grumble Grove. The Seven Sneezes of Cecil Sned. This is the saga of Cecil Sned, whose eyes were blue, whose nose was red, who was seized one day with a sneezing fit. This is what happened because of it. The first time Cecil sneezed and coughed, the sounds were indistinct and soft. But as he sneezed and sneezed some more, each sneeze eclipsed the sneeze before. The second sneeze of Cecil Sned roused Cecil's family out of bed. The third time Cecil sneezed that day, his next-door neighbors moved away. He tried to hold his sneezes back. Alas, he couldn't. Whoa, alack! And Cecil's fourth, with awesome force, dislodged a policeman from his horse. His fifth produced a gusty breeze that stripped the leaves from scores of trees. And Cecil, sneezing number 6, reduced those trees to twigs and sticks. At length there came that moment dread, the 7th sneeze of Cecil Sned. Though hapless Cecil truly tried, he could not keep that sneeze inside. Poor Cecil Sned, it grew and grew, then out it burst, a great achoo! Oh, and with that final sneeze and cough, the head of Cecil Sned flew off. Jack Prelutsky, the poet, comes from New York City, and the illustrator Victoria Chess comes from one of America's other great cities, Chicago. Jack remains to this day one of America's best-loved poets for children, and his website has all kinds of fun stuff for young readers to explore. And if you look around a bit, it will not be hard to find many other books by Victoria Chess, books she wrote and books that she illustrated. A turkey vulture sits on a saguaro. If you want to hear that poem, you'll have to come back tomorrow. And that was the book, The Sheriff of Rottenshot. Those poems were written by Jack Prelutsky, and the pictures were drawn by Victoria Chess.